Good morning, Donald. Here we are again. And today we're going to cover to do with Forex trading and platforms and all of those things. We're going to cover security. We're going to cover exchanges and wallets. Okay, for those people that have been watching all of our videos together. And thank you for that, because we've had quite a few people really benefiting from what we've been talking about. I've had loads of personal messages, and I know that they're on YouTube, our previous 3 videos. We've done 3 or 4, can't remember now. And so here we are again with Donald, and I'm Hazel Moore, and we're talking about security, exchanges and wallets. Because we know, don't we, Donald, that the landscape for Forex traders and people that use platforms to do with Forex trading and who need an exchange, the landscape is shifting fast and dramatically.
Yes, good morning, Hazel, and great to see you. You're looking very festive there. I really need to do something with my backdrop in comparison.
You do. Get a little Christmas tree up.
Yeah, some tinsel or something. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
We need the light. We need the light.
Point taken. Yes, right. Okay, where are we up to? We've gone on a bit of a journey here, I think, in our discussions where we've identified the things that we need to address. We've got into the blockchain. We've looked at that. We've looked at how to make money in the various global markets. And we've identified the fact that using Bitcoin as the means with which to go in and out of trading platforms is the system that works. This is what's being replicated now by many companies very successfully. It's all been challenged by the regulators. Lots of companies have been challenged by the financial regulators. And the reality is that it is legal. There is nothing they can do to regulate it or pull the plug on it. And what we're facing now, I think, having got that little bit of autonomy for ourselves, or quite significant degree of autonomy for ourselves, what we're facing now in reality is the powers that be are essentially exerting control over our access to the purchase and the sale of cryptocurrencies. So what we're finding is that the larger exchanges, which are in the UK, for example, FCA regulated, are now essentially behaving in exactly the same way as the banks. Now, this has always been on my radar as a possibility, because the moment they sign up to FCA, recognition, then obviously they're beholden to a degree to the regulators. And this really is what we have to address now, because whilst the blockchain itself gives us complete security and anonymity, where we access funds and where we need to get things in and out of our banks is actually now a stranglehold, which I think, well, you can discuss, what you've experienced, but I have already experienced this to be a serious concern.
Yeah, so so first of all, let's address Coinbase, okay? Because both of us have used Coinbase. I was with Coinbase for 4 years already, 4 years and more, and I never had any trouble with Coinbase. But the thing for us to remember is that the minute you start addressing and answering questions, that they send you a survey and they ask you what the money's for and so on, what your business is. If you put you're into multi-level marketing or networking, that is a red flag to companies like Coinbase. They do not like MLM companies, and they do not like networkers. And if you're saying you're a Forex trader, they don't like that much either. So that is the first thing to remember. It's crucial what you tell these exchanges. Just tell them you're learning to trade, or you're doing an educational program, or you're just sending Bitcoin to family and friends. That's all they need to know, because by default, as Donald just said, we're protected by the anonymity of the blockchain. And that's the first thing that we need to really understand. And that, you know, we can't fight these bodies. We have to play them at their own game. Would you agree?
Well, yes, but we need to be careful that we don't leave ourselves exposed. One of the things that I did recently when I was asked by Coinbase to demonstrate what I was doing with the money was I actually read their new terms and conditions. And I do make a habit of doing this from time to time.
Yeah.
I'll write off an hour of my life or whatever it takes to go through them. And they are now specifically prohibiting network marketing platforms and so on. So there's a danger here, actually, because if you, in knowledge of that, continue to use a platform which has prohibited these companies, then there is a real risk. Now, there are two things that I think are really important to look at here. I started looking for exchanges that were prepared to send funds to network marketing companies and so on. And what I actually found was CoinFloor. It was a UK company going right back to 2013. And when they asked me about my activities on the blockchain, I sent them screenshots of my back office in all of the trading programs that I am involved in, because they wanted proof of where the profits were coming from. They sent it to their compliance department and came back and approved my use of their exchange with these programs. Now, that is the exchange that I'm now using for my company. I have a distinction. I have a whole completely different set of systems between my company and my personal stuff. But in the knowledge that their compliance department have approved what I'm doing, I now feel an awful lot more comfortable with relatively high volumes going through that exchange.
Yeah. Can I just reiterate that? So it's CoinFloor, FLOOR.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And is that, I'm assuming, because of their relationship with you and, you know, they're open about a lot of things, that they are decentralized?
I still to do a little bit more due diligence on the company itself, but I was certainly dealing with a very amenable human and got personal contact and personal service. And it's not a flashy site. It's actually a very, very basic site. And I'm not necessarily at this moment in time saying everyone should go to CoinFloor.
No.
But what I'm saying is that I found an exchange which have completely legitimized my use of trading platforms,
which is obviously in their favor. And so let's be clear going forward. We're going to be talking about some companies, and we are not recommending that you take any of our advice until you've done your own research, because where you are geographically located will have a huge influence on which exchange you eventually end up working with. Okay, so that is important for you all to understand.
Yeah, I think there's a very important point to be made here, Hazel, when it comes to exchanges. When we got involved in crypto in the first place, for me, it was back in 2017. I really didn't care about the exchange. I cared about the trading companies. All I wanted to do was buy Bitcoin and be able to get on with it. And so I used whatever was there. And Coinbase at the time was by far and away the best. You know, the Coinbase Pro platform was absolutely phenomenal. I didn't give it a second thought. I just used it. The fees were low. The liquidity was high. I never had any problems. What I had problems with were the scammy network marketing companies that I got involved in early on. Now, having gone through that process of due diligence and experience with the network marketing companies, the trading platforms and so on, we've now reached a hard core of the really solid, brilliant companies that are working for us. And what I'm now saying, the way I'm looking at this from an engineering point of view, is I'm working back towards the bank account. So now we've got the trading companies generating the profits dependably, and then we've got to look at that journey of getting the money securely from those companies into our lives, basically, one way or another. So now I think it definitely behoves us all to start to look at the security of that, because as we've identified, there can be nefarious activity at the exchanges. So that involves basically looking at wallets where we own our own keys, so that we have not, custody, I should say, of our own funds.
I'd like to interrupt. Can you explain to people what your own keys actually means to people?
Well, I'll start off by going to the opposite end and talking about a non-custodial account. When we put our money into Bitcoin and in Coinbase, for example, they are custodians of our money. It's like giving it to the bank. We've got login details, but the actual wallets and the whereabouts of that money being stored, we don't know. And they have control over it. Now, if anybody hasn't used a private blockchain wallet before, it's absolutely time to learn how to do this. Because what's guaranteed to us by using a blockchain wallet is that we do have complete anonymity, because it is quite simply a node on the blockchain. And we generate our own security, and we are given backup passwords and phrases which require to be written down, hard copy, offline, and only we then have access to that wallet. Nobody else can get in, nobody can hack it without access to that information. And that is a huge fundamental difference. Basically, if you don't own the keys to your wallet, you don't own your Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really well said. Thank you for that. So moving on from that. So we all understand what owning your own private keys means.
Yeah, and there are several wallets that you can use. Exodus is proving to be fantastic. I've certainly been using that one. Blockchain.com is also very, very good. But
IM token is good as well. Okay. But you will find if you try to share the IM token URL on Facebook, they will block it. So be aware of that. That does not mean that IM token is illegal or a scam company. It just means that Facebook do not favor it. But yeah. I know a lot of people who have a lot of Bitcoin use IM token.
Yeah. The other thing that using a private wallet allows us to do is to sync it with a hardware wallet. So Trezor make essentially a little bit like a USB device, a little bit like a flash drive that we're all used to using. And it is a hardware wallet. Now, this means that you can actually store your Bitcoin completely offline on this wallet. And I suppose it is the equivalent of stashing cash under the mattress. This is the ultimate, backup.
Actually, you say that, Donald, it is the equivalent of stashing it all under the mattress. But if you've got Bitcoin, the added advantage is it also increases as Bitcoin increases, which stashing your notes and coins under the mattress didn't do, but it also goes down.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
but it's that same mentality. It's taking possession of your funds. Mm-hmm. And now that's what companies refer to as being cold storage. And you will see, if you start looking at the security measures that the exchanges themselves use and the big corporations, a lot of the time they've got 80% of their funds in cold storage. Mm-hmm. They've actually got it offline where it cannot possibly be accessed by anybody or hacked. And as long as their own physical security measures are robust, then the Bitcoin is safe. What it's not doing while it's on that wallet is trading. Mm-hmm. So there's a decision that we all have to take about how we distribute our risk between various places of storing our money. Mm-hmm. So what I've started to do is to maintain a balance on my Exodus wallet, apart from the funds that I've got in the trading platforms. Mm-hmm. So that, let's say, anything happens to a trading platform or all of the trading platforms, I've still got Bitcoin on a wallet in reserve that I can hold on to, and it's going nowhere. And so what I'm now doing is using that wallet as the central distribution points for Bitcoin to all of the companies that I'm trading with. And that wallet is not an exchange. And this is really important to understand. It is just an absolutely secure place to store and to transfer Bitcoin.
Yeah. Right. I agree totally with that. There's Trezor. I like Trezor. I like it because the screen is a little bit bigger for people like myself, and it's very, very easy to use. You might say, some of you, they're costly. I think it's about £130 for the model that I've got. And then there's the Nano Ledger, which is a personal thing, but I don't favor it. So you need to research it. It's just a personal thing why I favor the Trezor one, and mainly because the screen's a bit bigger and it's more user friendly in that way. But research Trezor and Nano Ledger. Don't rely on us.
And Ledger have also produced a hardware wallet for blockchain.com. And that ecosystem interests me, but at the moment, their bespoke one called Lockbox isn't available to purchase. So whilst I had attempted to get hold of that in order to try it, I haven't been able to do so at the moment.
Yeah, and Exodus works well with Trezor. They go hand in hand. So that's good to know. So I agree actually with everything that Donald has shared with us so far. That we need to get away from these centralized decentralized exchanges, because they're out of control, because they're in cahoots with the traditional banking system. For me, I just wanted to say a little story about Coinbase, because I've been with them a long time, and I do like Coinbase for trading and so on. I also like Binance for trading, but after my experience today, I'm not going to recommend it unless you're tech savvy and you are emotionally stable. This is the whole thing I want to emphasize, apart from logical security. So I've just renewed a contract of £100,000, and I tried to do it 2 days ago with Coinbase, and they would only allow me to send $50,000 at within any 24 hours. So I had to do it in 2 lots. So I sent it to another exchange, and that is a red flag for me. That is control. It's a red flag. And I don't know whether this was a blockchain thing or it's something that Coinbase are implementing behind the scenes, but it took a long time for the initial 50,000 to go through, and it took a longer time for the second $50,000 to go through, which I did last night. Now, if you're not emotionally stable, you're going to really worry about these kinds of circumstances. So, let's be really clear that when you get to the larger sums, which all of you will, if you're Forex trading and you're in a really good platform, you're all going to get wealthy. And you need to really work on your emotional stability, your emotional intelligence, because you'll be stressed out of your brains if you don't. And that's why with Donald's advice, balance out where you put your money, where you keep it, and that you're only happy to risk what you can afford to lose. So for example, with myself, if I did lose that 50 grand, I was okay with that, because over the past 4 years, I've positioned myself to grow into that and beyond. And that's the most important thing, apart from understanding exchanges, hard wallets, cold wallets, and everything else. So that's what I wanted to say about Coinbase. And saddens me a little bit, because I really like the way Coinbase works, which is the sister company, if you like, of Coinbase. But I'm taking Donald's advice, and the advice of all people that are wealthy is keep your money offline in a safe, and Trezor and Nano Ledger is another word for safe. Okay. I'm talking about a safe where you have a lock and a code. So that's my little input there. But I'm more so about the emotional side than the logical side, although of course both are important.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there, Hazel. Coinbase brought in a £50,000 limit, a daily transaction limit,
Yeah.
quite a long time ago, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been there for quite a long time, and whilst in principle I can say, well, okay, fine, but that clearly means that it's not for the serious players,
Yeah.
But I mean, my experience of Coinbase, it all been pretty good until I was doing. I actually had a situation where I was drawing down on a regular basis into my company, and all of a sudden, the trading section of Coinbase Pro got grayed out. I just couldn't use it, and there was no email, there was no nothing. It just stopped me from trading. I couldn't sell my Bitcoin. So I got in touch with them, and they said, "Oh yes, you need to redo your validation. You know your customer, proof of ID, and all the rest of it." Now this was only 6 months after I set up this corporate account, and a proper corporate account in the name of the limited company. As I've said, because it distinct funds from personal. So eventually, I resubmitted all the documents and all the rest of it, and they eventually allowed the account to go live again. But it caused me real problems, and I realized at that point that I couldn't depend on Coinbase for critical funds. The other thing that happened at exactly that time was that I received a phone call from someone at the Bank of Scotland who's not in their regular customer service team. He called from a mobile phone number, a Manchester sounding guy, who basically had access to my account and told me details of my account and asked me to justify where the money was coming from that was going into the company account from Coinbase. And he said he's part of a special team that profiles customers' accounts for irregular and fraudulent activity. So for anybody who is in any doubt whatsoever of the level of scrutiny that's being applied to our bank accounts by these agencies, please do not think that this is some fanciful notion, because it is happening. It's absolutely happening.
Yeah, and let's also be clear that the higher up you go with your money, a couple of 100,000, 500,000, so on, you get flagged at a higher level within the banking hierarchy, and even more restrictions might be put upon your account shut down. Because always remember, the banking system is not for the people. They own our money as soon as we put it in that bank account. But they're not really interested in the small people like you and I might be. People have got a few thousand, that's fine. It's peanuts to these people, rightly or wrongly. It's only when you become, like Donald has said, quite a big player that you get flagged, because they're not working for us, guys. Take that with a pinch of salt or not. So I just would want to reiterate, Donald, what we've covered so far. So the best practice, everyone, is to buy your Bitcoin from an exchange, because you have to. An exchange is where you can put fiat currency in and buy Bitcoin and crypto.
Can I, sorry to interrupt you at that point, there's just one more discussion point I wanted to make with regard to different types of exchanges.
Yeah.
And that is that there is basically a difference between the exchanges that that have custody of our funds and over-the-counter exchanges. And basically, with an over-the-counter exchange, the exchange matches your requirements with another party on the other side. So this basically means that you can do a transaction directly on a peer-to-peer basis. If you're trying to buy Bitcoin, you will buy it directly from the seller. And this is actually a characteristic which I have used in certain exchanges. I've actually got a private broker that I can use as a resort if I get stuck. But also a company called Bitylicious does this. They actually match you to somebody else on the other side. And this is an area that I'm going to be giving a lot more research to and publishing my findings of different over-the-counter exchanges.
Yeah, yeah, that's extremely valuable information as well. Thank you for that. So we'll put the names of these companies like CoinFloor and Bittylicious underneath this video so that you guys can research them yourself and look forward to Donald. Donald is a great researcher. He really goes into fine detail. Okay, unlike me, I don't go into the same detail that Donald does, and that's why he's so valuable on these chats that we have. So guys, he knows his stuff, not only from researching, but from experience. Okay, so, do really take this seriously. So yeah, so quickly, you get an exchange, okay, and you buy your Bitcoin and then you send it to a private decentralized wallet like Exodus or IM token, or to your own hard wallet, cold storage wallet, which is the equivalent of a safe, money under the bed. Okay, great. So is there anything else that we should cover, do you think, with this security, with the exchanges, with the process that people should start using or indeed think about using?
To be honest, Hazel, I think that if what we've discussed was to be taken on board, and people start to take it seriously and make some changes, I think it would be mission accomplished. What I do appreciate, and my I have sympathies towards those who've only just got involved in blockchain and trading platforms and everything else, is that it appears to offer even greater complexity to something that might actually already have been causing issues. But it is important, and it actually is nowhere near as complicated as it might sound. Yeah. And I certainly see it as my role with the people that I've sponsored and encouraged to get involved. I'm here to help people get set up. And, I think the satisfaction that comes from taking ownership and taking responsibility is when it's your wallet, it's your money, there is no phone line, there is no customer support, it's yours, you need to take care of it. Yeah. And that's what provides ultimate security. So, we're here to help everybody in this whole business of financial sovereignty. And that means not trusting other people with your cash.
Yeah, absolutely. And really understanding the difference between a high street bank and what Donald and I are, trying to share with the world at large, which is essentially have your own bank. That's what we are essentially guiding people to. Okay, so I've actually created a Word document, so I won't go into all of the exchanges and so on, but I'll put it under this video, and you can share it on your social media and so on. It's pretty straightforward, as you say, but I do understand, and Donald understands this as well, that people just getting into Bitcoin and the whole concept of that, it is a learning curve. The mind does boggle a bit until you get into it deeper and deeper, but don't let that put you off. One step at a time. I really encourage everyone to learn about what we're talking about so that we do become autonomous and we are sovereign beings. There's going to be a Word document under here, and know that things are changing very fast and not in our favor. Really think about that. I'm astonished at the changes this past week, actually, what's happened. So, as Donald and I have said in other videos, there's no time to pussyfoot around. This is now becoming urgent if you want to thrive going forward. Okay, Donald, well, that took a lot less time than I thought it was going to.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's essentially quite simple. There's just a few things that we all need to do, and we don't want to complicate it any more than necessary. So I think we've summed it up as best we need to be honest, Hazel.
Okay, so thank you, Donald, for your time today. And anyone listening, Donald's details will be under this video, and so will mine. And we are really here to help you all, get your head around all of this that may be quite new to you. All right. Thanks, Donald.
Cheers, Hazel.